Good evening. All right, we're live. Fantasy Cast episode 2. I am Chael Roberts, your host. I am the writer creator of Guardians of Erloth, previously on Indiegogo, coming back to Indiegogo soon. 24-page fantasy comic book. And I am once again joined by Larry Holder. Larry, you
Hello.
want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Larry Holder. I am the writer-creator of Time and Space, the Lunar Rise #1, now funding on Indiegogo.
So how things going?
Well, it's picking up a little bit, but it's still pretty slow. I hope to get a few more backers just by sharing around, going on streams, things like that. So.
Okay, why don't we share your page for your campaign?
Sure.
And if you want to talk a little bit about it, tell everybody what it's about.
Yeah. So I updated the page a little bit the other day and added some new story elements into the description and stuff like that. So I go over like the basic plot at the beginning and stuff like that. Essentially, it's a story that takes place on the first universe that exists in the galaxy, and there's an ancient evil that arises from the center of the planet and threatens all the new life that develops on the world, and the peoples of the world have to stop it. So it's a multi-age comic series is what I'm hoping to start. So this was the first part of the first book, if you will, or whatever you want to call it, chapter, book, saga. Yeah. So yeah, that's basically what it's all about. And it's told mainly through the eyes of a singular character, and he's sort of like an angel type character. I'm describing.
What are the species or the creatures, right? Or can you tell me or tell us a little bit about that?
Right. So the main character, Onizia, he's an angelos, which are essentially sort of like an angel type creature. They look a little bit different. They're sort of look like a hybrid between like an angel and a demon. They have horns and dark eyes and big angel wings and stuff like that. But they're mostly human looking. With some, they're a lot taller and bigger and things like that. And then there's the Haman. They're a regular human type, and the Orsted are sort of like a lizard type people. Those two races came from a race called the Dragi, which were essentially dragons, and they created them. And then the two races interbred and made the Angelos, and they inherited all the powers of the Dragi before them. So those are the 4 main races there. So
awesome. And who's your artist again?
That's Rob Cannon.
Rob Cannon, and he's done a lot. What has he done in the past?
Well, he's mainly known for his work on Galaxial, which was like a sci-fi sort of hyper violent type of comic. Looks really good. Similar style art, although he went like really crazy on that one. It's a really cool read. I'm looking forward to getting a copy of it when it comes out because I backed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I thought I was sharing this. Apparently, I may not be sharing it. Let me try to fix this. Or if you want to share it, I can lock the screen on you.
Last time I did that, I crashed. I don't know.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can. Let's see here. So you're currently sitting at about 11%.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at right now. So
there we go. Yeah, sorry about that. I just realized that we weren't sharing your campaign.
Oh, that's fine.
We'll do that now, though.
Yep.
All right. So a tale spanning the first ages of time and space.
Mm-hmm.
So where does the story pick up?
Well, I go in the first issue. I go back to the very beginning, like literally the very beginning, and tell a brief history up to the point where the story starts, which is sort of like the Second War, if you will, against this dark, evil creature. So
the divine are they called Dragi?
Dragi, yeah.
Dragi, okay.
Yeah.
So those are kind of like the dragon.
Yeah, they're sorry. They're like they're basically dragons, but they're sort of strange looking. Some of them have limbs, some of them don't, and they're all different types of forms and stuff like that.
So like a worm, and
Yeah.
it could be, dragons as we know them with,
Yeah.
four limbs and wings,
Yeah,
or
the way I typically drew them was sort of like a humanoid upper torso, and then like a dragon head with like two curved horns like a ram, and then like a
Gotcha.
long tail with no legs. But Rob's been drawing all sorts of different types of them, which I kind of like because he's bringing a little bit more uh, diversity to the race, if you will. I tend to just draw the same sort of form for everything. So
Okay, and I thought there was a picture here somewhere of actually what you were just describing, so I'm trying to find that here.
yeah, it's probably in the descriptor part at the beginning.
Here we go.
Yeah.
So the one that he has got the two horns, and then there's the winged.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna go back up so I can say these names correctly and get them right. So you have, that's the Dragi, and then you have the Haman. Is that
Yeah,
how you
the
say it?
Haman, yeah.
And the Haman are who?
They are basically just like it's a humanoid type form like us, basically. So
Okay. And then
more idealized, I guess, though. So
gotcha.
yeah.
And then you have the Orested.
Orsted, yeah. They're they're kind of like the way I envisioned them was sort of like almost reptilian type creature. Really short, stocky, and bulky.
Gotcha.
Looks sort of like an alien gray. They've got big eyes and pointy ears and things like that. So yeah.
Okay. Now, who's the? Is there a main antagonist? I'm assuming there is.
Yeah, there is. I didn't really put that in the writing. I just called it like a terror from before time or whatever. But there, if you scroll down a little bit, there's to the second, like, there we go. So this creature here in the panels down here is the first sort of creature that bursts out of the earth, and it's becomes known as something called the Nocturne.
Okay.
And eventually they defeat it, and then a part of it still survives, and it infests this Haman and turns him into like a reincarnated version of him, although he's a lot smaller, of course, at that point. This thing's almost like a kaiju sort of size creature.
Gotcha. That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I think. Well, it came out last Friday, right? Godzilla, I believe. So, are you?
Yeah.
Is that something you're going to go see?
Well, I want to. I don't usually get to the theater very often, but
Yeah, I feel
yeah,
you there.
I love Godzilla movies though. So
Cool. So it looks like from the description, these three races, the creators, and then the Haman and the Orested, they're kind of getting together to fight this ultimate evil.
that's right. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. The art looks very good. Is it gonna? You said you want to do it in color, or are you gonna leave it?
Well, I wanted to do it in color, yeah, but financially, it's gonna have to be done in black and white for now, unless I meet a certain goal. So
Gotcha. And then who is this angelic?
it's just a tapestry, sort of depicting the rise of the Angelos. So
Okay.
you see the two like Haman and Orsted forms bowing towards them, and there's sort of a representation of the creature down there, and then the Dragi on the side. So
cool. And this is done by Rob.
yeah, that's actually one of the pages from the book. So yeah.
Okay.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, instead of at certain points, I didn't want to drag out the origin too far. So at certain points, I tried to find imagery that would kind of describe like a long period of history in a single image. So I thought, oh, okay, well, we'll draw like a tapestry that's hanging from a wall or something like that, and put like all this sort of history into it, that will sort of describe it visually, I guess. So
okay.
Yeah.
So take us through. I see the featured tier here. It's $11. I'm not going to click on it just so I don't dox myself. But tell people what they get or what
Well,
they're for the tiers.
yeah, okay. So the first one there, of course, is just the book by itself. So it'll be a copy of issue 1. However, it ends up. I'm looking at a couple different printing options for it right now. It's probably going to be like a floppy, but I'm not sure like what type of paper I'm going to have it printed on quite yet. So
Awesome. So that's the $11 tier,
yeah.
the basic book then.
hmm
Okay, and those come signed.
Oh yeah,
All
yeah. You
right.
gotta have them signed. So
So this is 48 pages, and then for the digital copy, which is the $4 tier,
yeah,
they'll get that digital copy.
just a digital version. Yeah.
Okay, and then you have a variant cover.
Yeah, the variant cover has art from 2 artists that I hired, Das Walks and Andre Boulard. They did 2 of the initial concept images, so I just sort of formatted it into a cover with both of their artworks on it. So,
Awesome. Do you have a tier that offers both covers?
oh yeah, that's down further. Yeah.
Okay,
There-
both covers right here.
Yeah.
$22. They get both covers, and then you have shipping to the States as
Yep.
well as Canada.
Shipping international. Yeah. There's
Okay.
3 different tiers of shipping depending on where you are, but
Okay.
yeah.
And those different tiers are once you click on this, it
Yeah.
would give you
Yeah.
the option of, depending on where you're located.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So what's this printed on stone?
Well, these are actual stone slabs that I've put some images on.
Oh,
So
nice.
they're limited to 1, so they're super
Yeah,
limited. Yeah, I
that's
put a
kind of
couple.
cool.
Yeah, I put a bunch of limited items up just recently. Like there's 1 or 2 of, hoping to attract some collector sales. Those don't include the book; they're just for the item, basically. So
Okay. And then the journey is
Germany's like a making of book. So
okay.
yeah. I did it up for a convention. So I have a bunch of copies of it right now, but the one I'm going to include with the campaign is going to be edited with some more more content and a little bit different stuff in the back of it, because the book originally was sort of made to be like a preview book. So it's got 10 pages with the script and stuff like that, but I'd like to add some different stuff into the actual book that I put out with this. So
Okay. Now, is that
yeah.
something you think you would share with people as a script, or is that something you kind of keep close to the vest and you're
Oh no,
constantly changing it? Or
no, the script was finalized quite a while ago. So, like literally in the the pages in the back, I had, since they weren't lettered at the time or anything like that, I just had like the script on one page and then the actual page on the other side. So, I
okay.
don't mind showing the scripts or anything like that.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I'm always interested in looking at other people's scripts. I know
Yeah.
my scripts. You've heard other people talk about how they script as far as
hmm
writers, and there's some people who just do a brief description. Then the other one they call the Marvel method, which I believe is more in depth, more descriptive as far as breaking down panels and
I think
pages.
it's the opposite way around. I think the
Oh, is
Marvel
it?
method. Yeah, I think the Marvel method's more like just the dialogue sort of thing and a brief description of the scene, and then
Oh,
the
okay.
artist sort of interprets that. But the other way, the way I write it is kind of like you would write like a scene for a movie, I guess.
Yep.
That's how I like writing it. So
Okay.
it'll include things like framing and like what direction the panel goes and stuff like that. So
Okay, that's kind of what I did when I
yeah,
started writing Guardians of Verloth. It was something, obviously it's coming from my mind, and I had never had an artist bring those descriptions or those characters to life. So I wanted to get as descriptive as I could. So I broke it down by panel. The first 5 pages, I pretty much had a physical layout that I sent them.
yeah,
I'd never done a comic before. He had done comics, so and he was fine with that. He kind of did it. I liked what he did, and he did some things a little bit differently, but it was, I think, because of his perspective as an artist, it worked better for him to draw that way. Like characters not really in one panel, but kind of just like an overlay of
Right.
multiple panels.
Yep.
And I like that. And I learned, after those first 5 pages, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to break it down. I'll do the setting. I'll do the just a quick brief of what's happening in that panel or in that page, and then the dialogue, breaking down the dialogue, like you
Right.
said, from a movie script type of writing or look, I guess. But yeah, so I would love to see the script and compare notes just
For
to
sure.
see
Yeah.
how, especially after seeing the finished product, and kind of get an idea of how writers do things, how they approach things, and then how the artist interprets that and puts it on paper, and then what's changed from the script to the final product.
Right.
So I know I made changes when I got pages back. It caused me to go like further down in the script and change stuff just because you see that art and gives you different ideas.
Right. I didn't really change anything, surprisingly. See, what we did is Rob went and basically, when we were doing the initial like setup or whatever, he basically did a layout for all 48 pages, right from the beginning. So he did like little roughs, and then I could look at them and say yes or no. I think I only had to change one that he did, so he wasn't really getting the angle that I was going for. If I can describe it, basically, two characters are sort of looking down from above on something, and he was kind of having them look off into the distance at it. So,
Okay,
yeah,
awesome. And Albino Thunderbuns joins us, and he's confirming that the Marvel method is breaking down by. I just clicked off the chat, but
oh
I
yeah,
believe
okay.
he's.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much how I do mine, albino. I like to get descriptive as a writer, and it kind of has taught me. Yeah, we talked about this a little last week. When you're writing that chapter, you can get into descriptions. With a script for a comic book, you don't want too much dialogue in there, so you've got to describe it as much as you can to the right or the artist, and
Right.
in your own mind. For me, at least, I to kind of cut the dialogue out. I kind of have to visualize what is actually going on, and then pick and choose, what's going to be appropriate, because the art's going to show one thing, and that's really how you get that feeling across to the reader is through the art.
Right.
And the dialogue's just supposed to further it, just be very basic, easy to read, not clog up the page. I mean, you've read comics, but so I think it's interesting because I've heard other people like Nasser talk about his scripting, and he just gives the bare minimum, breaks the page down, and then gives the artist a lot of leeway. So
Yeah. I don't know if I can do it that way though, personally.
yeah,
I don't know if it's just coming from like the fact that I've thought about this too long or something, but or that I'm trying to like go for a certain aesthetic or something like that. But uh, like
right.
I didn't like outright control. Like Rob added a lot of things in that I really didn't think about, but he sort of got where I was going with it. So he kind of just implied a few things, and then I really liked it. So like like the cities, I said like I listed off a couple of civilizations that I wanted to like draw some architecture inspiration from.
Yeah.
But when he did the, I don't think I have that panel up here, but there's a certain panel here where you see a lot of like sculpture art on the buildings and stuff like that. It's sort of Romanesque, and I hadn't
Oh,
really
is this
thought.
on one of the covers?
No, it's in one of the panels. I don't have up on the
Oh,
page right
okay.
now. It happens after the last one that I had posted there, but like there's the main leader of the Angelos, Themir. he's kind of an arrogant sort of bastard, and Rob put his like a giant stone sculpture of his face on the Citadel building in the middle of the city,
Okay.
and I didn't have that in there, but it added so much to it, right?
Yeah, that's
So
cool.
yeah.
I'm looking at that one where you have the dragon eye. Is that what they're called? I'm sorry. You have the
Oh, Drag Eye, yeah,
drag
sorry.
eye.
Yeah.
And you have that the winged guy coming in front of them. Well, to the right of
Yeah.
that, it looks like maybe another cover type of picture, and it has like the floating
Oh yeah.
cities, and it does have that Roman Greek
Yeah, that was
style.
that was the other artist, and I would kind of just I did like a real rough sketch of like kind of what I wanted the buildings to look like, but when she did that, but yeah. Yeah, like I guess I had that idea in my head, but he really pulled it out with some of the architecture and stuff like that. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Cool. So, what would you, if you had to tell people what the best value is, or if you had to sell them on something, what would you point them towards as far as backing you at a specific tier? What would make the most sense? Like, let's say somebody you,
Well, I mean, if you just want to read it, the book probably makes the most sense. Or if you're international, I think the digital makes a little bit more sense. You don't have to pay that shipping fee. But
yeah. Yep. No, that's something I didn't offer
but
either with
yeah,
digital at first. And I had people from Canada, being like, and one guy from Australia, and he was like, hey, I want to back this, but, you didn't offer anything. So I was like, yeah,
actually, that's what. Yeah,
okay.
that's exactly what happened to me too. I was talking to a guy from Australia, and he said, "Yeah, I want to back it, but you need to put a digital tier in." So I did. I added it the next day. So
Awesome. So your total goal is 3704
yeah,
and
or
you're about 11.
5,000 Canadian, but yeah,
Gotcha. 5,000.
yeah, yeah,
5,000 Canadian. And then you're currently at 424 US dollars. So
yeah.
you've got 42 days. Did you put it out the full 60 days or?
I put it at the full 60 days. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So we'll try
Those
to build up some steam and
Yeah. Now, like I don't have a big following. I guess that was a fault of mine. I never really realized how much of a how much that really helps to have a big following, but
yeah.
it does. Yeah.
Yep. I know that
Um,
from firsthand experience. So you're not the only one. Um,
yeah.
But you got to look at the guys who do have a big following. I mean, they were former pros. You got Mike S. Miller and EVS, and I mean they've
Right.
been in the game for a while. But
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
the only thing people like you and I can do is keep plugging away.
For sure. Yeah. I mean that's basically what it comes down to. And it's hard sometimes. You get kind of discouraged or whatever, but
Yeah. Yep. I know the feeling, man.
I have to Yeah, I have to like just sort of put that sort of thinking aside, I guess. Just keep trucking along.
Awesome.
No,
So this is called Fantasy Live, and I kind of want to do a little deviation at the moment
sure.
and talk. We talked a little bit about Wheel of Time
Hmm.
last week, or I had. I know you haven't. You said you hadn't read the book and
No, but
didn't know anything about the books. I kind of want to go through an article because I know Albino Thunderbuns. He is a fan, and
sure.
he's on here right now. Um, so I found an article on Gizmodo, and it's Brandon Sanderson was the author who finished this series. The last three books he finished for Robert Jordan, who ended up passing away from cancer.
Hmm.
And he had left notes and descriptive detail about kind of where he wanted it to end or where he wanted it to go in the last three books. So this is an article from Gizmodo, and this guy Charles Pulliam Moore, no idea who he is,
Hmm.
but he's talking about the upcoming TV show, or excuse me, the Amazon show. And it's actually not going to be out, it looks like, for a bit, because they're just about to start filming, I guess, at the end of the summer, according to this article. It mentions that. But I just want to go through the article really quick, and we get back to the campaign after that, and maybe talk a little bit more about other fantasy stuff.
Sure.
And then we could look at other open stuff on Indiegogo, other people's campaigns, that may have to deal with fantasy. Take a look at it, and maybe not pick it apart, but just talk about them
Sure.
without knowing too much. But so this article is Brandon Sanderson likens Amazon's Wheel of Time series to Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. Now, I know you haven't read Wheel of Time, and I've only read a little bit of the Lord of the Rings because they're very hard to read. The writing is, it's that kind of the old English, just very hard to get into. It's not like a normal novel. So he's talking about this. He likens it to that as far as scale and then how they're going to tell the story. Now, the books, and I've only read the first three, and I'm actually reading through the third one for the second time, but they don't start the story as a kind of like a flashback, or they're telling the story that already happened. It's happening as the reader's reading it. It's the true telling of the hero's journey. It's this guy, and they're discovering they have powers, and then you have these people come in, that Obi-Wan type of character that comes in and kind of guides them along their path and helps them realize their true potential. But so he says, after years of languishing in development hell, he's talking about the series, a live-action series based on Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time novels is finally coming up to the small screen, courtesy of Amazon Studios. And showrunner Rafi Judkins, who apparently did Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., either wrote it or directed it or headed it up. I don't know if you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. at all.
I watched like the first 2 seasons, I think, and then I kind of drifted off. But
yep, I think that's where we ended. Was the first? Yeah. I think the third season is kind of where we stopped watching it, due to watching a number of other shows, and it just kind of took a turn that was kind of, I'd say, boring. But
yeah,
a couple of characters were written off that,
I think for me it was more just the fact that I didn't have cable anymore. But
okay. Yeah. See, we got it. I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was on one of our primetime network. I don't think it was on cable for us.
Okay.
I have to think back of which network it was on, but anyhow, he's this guy, Rafi Judkins. He's a showrunner of the Wheel of Time series. And according to Brandon Sanderson, which is the author who finished up the book series, final 3 books, as it says here, following Jordan's death, Amazon's take on the story might be somewhat different than the source material. So kind of in that regards, Game of Thrones kind of veered off from some of the source material. I think after season 5, they ran out of book material. And it says, in a recent Reddit post about the series' progress, Sanderson shared some of his thoughts about what's been changed from the original novels in order to better fit Judkins' vision for the new medium. And while Sanderson was frank about his belief that some of the changes made will be polarizing to the fandom, he's still confident that people will be able to get into the show. So that tells me that they may be veering off from certain themes, maybe from the books, that, I mean, they use the word polarizing. So that means there may be some vast differences, which they did in Game of Thrones. And it, I think to the casual observer, the casual watcher, it didn't make a difference. But to hardcore fans, it would make a huge difference. So it tells me that they may be aiming at a broader audience with the show, and which would be a smart move,
sure,
for viewership and money. But it's kind of upsetting, as a fan, things get changed too much because, you read these books, you've enjoyed them, you want to see them on the big screen, and Albino tells us Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is on ABC. So thank you, Albino. But yeah, getting back to it, he says, I found the vast majority of these decisions to be excellent choices, things that will give the show its own soul, but still in line with the feel and tone of the books. I can't say for certain, but my instincts say the fan base will in general respond to them positively. There are a few I offered suggestions on. There are a few I offered suggestions on, and we'll see. Man, the grammar and the correction in here is editing is awful sometimes.
Yeah.
But I can't say too much, not just because of NDAs, but also because the show is very much still in flux. As Rafi made decisions on how he wants things to go. As the alterations go, I'd say they fall in line with positive changes made in bringing Lord of the Rings to the big screen, things that were altered in order to make the films work for the medium. Now, him saying that, it does bring back some scenes in the books where you're following, these main characters as they're and I said the first book is, I told you last week, is really slow at some points, and you kind of need to kind of just bull through it and hang with it just so it picks up again. And so I can see where some things maybe cut out, like some of the journey stuff dealing with the main characters, because it does get a little boring. Nothing's going on. But overall, the thing I'm most impressed with, getting back to this article, is Rafi himself, who really seems to be guiding the show with a balance between love for the source material and his own creative vision. I'd much rather get this personally than something like the first two Harry Potter films, which felt like someone trying to bring the books to the screen with exact scene by scene recreations. Have you read the Harry Potter books?
I haven't read the books. I just saw the movies. But...
Okay. Yeah, I didn't read. The only book I read was the last one, and I read it with my wife right before I went to see it, because I was kind of interested in. I was asking her a lot of questions, and basically she told me I needed to read the book. So I did not read the series from the beginning. I did not read the first two books, but I can imagine that to appease those fans, and how J.K. Rowling kind of had a hand in it. They want it, and I don't think the first book, if I remember correctly, was very long.
No, I don't think it was. Now it's funny when you mention the Harry Potter, because I really liked the fourth movie, even though that was the one that sort of like deviated the most from the book, as far as I understand. So
was that Order of the Phoenix?
Yeah. No, it's the oh wait,
Half-Blood Prince.
No, it's the one with the tournament in it. I'm trying to remember the name of it. But
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Is that where what is that, vampire Edward?
Oh,
is that where
yeah,
Edward dies?
yeah. That's Robert Patterson's in it. Yeah.
Yeah, Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
Batman.
But yeah, that was I actually really liked that movie. I thought it had a lot of really good build up, especially with the ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how it sort of ended on a really sort of like down note. It was sort of like
Dark.
Empire Strikes Back, I guess. But
yeah. So that's the first one. I came into watching those movies in the third one, because I liked the CGI. I saw the werewolf. I think was the first scene I saw people watching, and I was like, oh, well, this seems kind of cool. I'm going to watch it. But I really remember that fourth one being kind of the darker one.
Yeah, that's where it sort of turned, became more mature, I guess. But I guess,
Prisoner of Azkaban, he says. No, that's the third one, I think.
Third one, yeah. Oh, yeah. Goblet of Fire. There, I just got it. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
No, it's yeah, well, I mean, she did write it like that, so as they went along with the years, they got older and it got more mature, right? Because the readers got more mature. So it made sense, but it was so the third movie was kind of darker. It had like the werewolf stuff in it and that kind of thing, but
nobody really died though, did they?
No, not really. Sort of, not really. But
oh, here we go. Somebody said Goblet of Fire.
Yeah, there we go. Goblet of Fire.
You got it though.
Yeah.
So yeah, to finish with this article, as Tor's the publisher, has pointed out, early news about the Wheel of Time's creative team suggests the show might open with events inspired by books later in the series of novels, meaning the story could take a drastically different shape while hitting many of the same beats in the long run. So that tells me I need to hurry up and finish the series so that when I start watching this, if they're putting events that happen in later books first. So it also kind of hints that maybe they're telling it from a past, kind of like this took place in the past, and which would be really different than the books, which is happening as you read it.
Right.
So, and it says we're still a few months out from when the Wheel of Time will actually begin shooting, and so for the first time being, all there is to do is wait and see. Well, in the fantasy genre lately, we've been waiting, especially with Game of Thrones. So, I think I'm kind of I am still optimistic with the show. I really hope that they do it justice. Definitely need to finish reading it. It's a long time due for me, but it really seems like maybe for TV sake or for television viewing audience, they need to approach it from a different.
They probably need to make it go a little bit quicker.
Right.
Well, I don't know, because
more action,
yeah,
more magic, more.
But at the same time, they get at budgetary concerns and stuff like that. And then what usually happens in television is they have this really push the first season with the effects and stuff like that. And
Right.
then, if they don't make their viewership, they lose their budget, they start toning it down and trying to make it, you know,
Yeah.
less. And then they get those stupid filler episodes. It's kind of like The Walking Dead. It went on and on and on and on, right? So,
Right.
like first couple seasons, like the first season was excellent because it was like 6 episodes, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think one of the best parts of that for me, and this was before I read the graphic novels, was I think it was the end of the second season when they saw the prison. They kind of panned up, and you just see the prison kind of at dusk. And at the time, I didn't know what it meant. I had to go and read the book to realize that the prison was kind of a big part with Alexandria and
Right.
or I'm sorry, Woodbury.
Yeah.
The what's his name? Eye Patch.
The governor. Yeah.
Governor. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like they did really well for the first couple adapting things, and then they ran out of material. It's kind of like Game of Thrones, right? And then they just started making stuff up, and the show kind of went off on its own, and
Right.
It's not good. Like I stopped watching season 5. I think I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
It was so slow.
I hung in there, and I guess a lot of people didn't like the whole Negan, lineup and where they ended it.
I missed like most of that, so yeah.
I thought it was, again, I watched it before I actually read that part in the comics.
Yeah.
And I thought it was cool. I mean, I can understand how people are upset when they leave a cliffhanger like that. They get all bent out of shape, but
yeah,
it's part of storytelling.
For sure, yeah. No, cliffhangers are great, I think. I have a lot of cliffhangers, so.
And I bet you every one of those people complaining was watching, in October when it came back on, or September, whenever it was. But I digress.
It's gonna do two things. It's either gonna make people come back if they really like it, or it's gonna really tick them off so they don't watch it. But the cliffhangers never bother me. I know you got to end on a cliffhanger. Every great TV show that wasn't ending always ended on a cliffhanger at the season finale. So
right.
Yeah.
Well, since we are doing fantasy cast, I kind of will look at a couple other indie projects just to see. I haven't had time lately to check too many of them out. I've been seeing them pop up, through my Twitter feed and on other videos. This is kind of one that I find very interesting, just because as a young person, late 80s, one of the first comics I picked up and read was Transformers #5.
Yeah.
Which was that iconic Shockwave on the cover, and it says they're all dead, and it was basically Transformers and the Decepticons were no more. So this is Gunship Thunder Punch, and it looks like it was an artist our writer who previously worked on Transformers.
I got the Transformers thing when I first saw it, for sure.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that like one of the actual like IDW artists was working on it. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
So,
that is really cool. I like the art. This is cool. This reminds me of, Transformers.
Yep.
Definitely being a child of the 80s and early 90s, a big thing growing up. Big, Transformers are one of those things that took up a lot of Saturday mornings and cartoons, and my toy box had Transformers in it. So,
mine too. Yeah. I almost wish I didn't realize that the mecha thing was still as big as it was. I guess I
yeah,
love mecha stuff, but like anime, everything like doesn't matter. If it's got a giant robot in it, I'll watch it. But
like what's up, Gundam? Wing?
Gundam is great, but no, I was like a huge fan of like Evangelion. That was probably one of my favorites, but that one's a little bit more heady, I guess.
Okay.
It's a little out there at certain parts, but I like it quite a bit. I also really liked let me think. Well, I was really into Voltron when I was younger.
Yeah.
The new show was pretty good up until about recently, and I kind of lost interest in it. But
Yeah, on
yeah,
Netflix.
yeah, like
Yeah.
it started really strong. I said,
Yeah,
"Oh, this is
it got a
awesome!"
little weird towards the last two seasons, I think. And
Yeah, like I don't know. I haven't really caught up too much on it, but
I think they were focusing more on maybe societal themes a little bit too strongly and less on,
it
the
was like,
action for me. But
yeah, well, they started listening to the fan base, basically.
okay.
I think that's what it came down to. And the fan base, it did attract a lot of those Tumblr people, probably because of the art style and stuff like that. But
Gotcha.
so all of a sudden, all this Tumblr stuff started coming into it, and I was like, I'm not really interested in this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this Gunship Thunder Punch is by Brian Shearer, and I honestly I didn't know who he was before I heard about this campaign. So
Yeah.
I don't know much about him, but he must have worked for IDW. You said.
Probably if it's if he was doing Transformers and GI Joe, they own both of those properties, so he
And
must have worked with them.
And that's gonna hit on our generation because of that Transformer and GI Joe. Those were the first two comic books I've ever picked up, long before Batman and Superman.
I guess recently they've kind of gone downhill. I don't know. Like I was buying a few of the series for a while there, but
okay,
I just kind of stopped. Well, for a while I had to stop buying comics, and then I started back up again. But
right,
yeah, I gave completely up on Marvel superhero stuff anyway. I still buy all the Star Wars comics, even though
me too, man. I'm a sucker for that.
like 75% of them are awful, but there's a one every now and then that's like really good. Did you read any of the little like one shots they were doing there?
I do. I have a couple of them. Jango Fett's. But you got Boba Fett, I believe.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about. Well, okay, I have them all, but I haven't read them all yet. But the Age of Republic stuff, the prequel era stuff, like except for like one, which I think was like a little anthology book.
Yeah.
It was pretty terrible, but it had a Jar Jar story in it. So I mean,
I don't think I read that one. I had the Mace Windu one, but
yeah, well, it's in that one. So,
okay.
Yeah. The Mace Windu has one story, and there's like two other stories in it. But anyway, all of the prequel stuff I absolutely loved. I did a video about it, and I was like, oh my god, they're actually writing these like they're the actual characters for once. And then I realized they were all written by the same person. So I'm like, okay, so this person must actually like have researched
the
actual stuff and figured out, oh, I should probably do, Anakin should probably be like this or whatever. So I was like, yeah. And then I noticed that this, I think her name was Jodie Hauser. I noticed she wasn't writing the Age of Rebellion stuff. and I started reading those. I think I read Princess Leia, and I can't remember what
Yeah,
other.
I didn't read that one.
Yeah,
I just bought a couple of them because I started, and I didn't know at first what they were. I didn't know they were standalone one
yeah,
shots.
yeah,
And I talked to the guy about it, and I think the first one I picked up it might have been the Jango Fett or Anakin one or something.
yeah. The Jango Fett one was really good.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
liked that one. That was cool.
I have the Boba Fett one here sitting here. I just picked up one today. It's Jabba the Hutt. I don't know about that one.
Yeah, I got to get over to the comic shop. I got a
Yeah,
bunch of stuff I need to pick up, but
but
um,
yeah, like I don't know, like the actual like Star Wars age stuff didn't seem as well written as the prequel stuff, which I thought was really weird. But
right.
anyway, yeah.
So this gunship Thunder Punch, it's Martians kidnapped Nova Marco's son. Her only
Hmm.
chance to save him lies with an abandoned gunship and an inmate with a life sentence who commanded the ship decades before. But this gunship has a secret. It's a lie. So he's been abandoned in a junkyard for 30 years, and he's a self-aware transforming gunship with
Nice.
some trust issues. So it sounds fun.
Yeah, that sounds like a great book. Actually, I might
Sounds
have to
like
back it. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a cross between the recent Bumblebee movie and yeah, I don't know what else, but it looks good. The
Uh,
art's good, and he looks like he has some definitely a robot with some issues.
I know I've watched a few animes where they've had like Ascension Giant Robot. I just can't really think what they were called.
Maybe like it kind of reminds me of Iron Giant too,
Well, yeah, there was
that
that.
cartoon.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely got that older feel to it, which is really nice. But
Looks like Eric Weathers is lettering.
mhm,
He's getting
it's
around
got a lot
too.
of work. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep, awesome. So
Oh, the art looks great.
yeah, looks very not I want to say cartoony, but it looks very animated. Like
Yeah.
it looks fun to
No,
me. I like
I,
that.
I say cartoony is a good descriptor. I don't think it's a bad one. It's
Yeah,
got Western cartoon sort of look to it, which is fine.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
but like
like that.
older Western cartoon sort of look, not the stuff that's coming out now.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't want to insult the artist. I like the art. So I mean, to say it's cartoony to me isn't an insult. I mean, I like that, especially with this kind of theme. You know, it's supposed to remind you of the Transformers from the
Yeah.
'80s and the Generation One.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
which is the best, I think, form of the Transformers. Always will be. That's why they keep remaking the toys look like they used to.
yeah, so I just checked in the chat there and yeah. Albino Thunderbun said Jodie Hauser is a lefty activist type writer. I'm like, yeah, she is, but if she gets the characters right, I don't really care what her politics are.
Oh,
You
is
know?
that the writer for the Star Wars?
Yeah, it was the Age of Republic ones. So
Gotcha.
like, as long as they feel like the characters, I don't really care who's writing it. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not too, I don't, my thing growing up, if it wasn't Jim Lee or
yeah,
McFarlane or Miller, I didn't really pay attention to all the writers and artists. I kind of,
yeah.
read, if I liked it, I read it and kept reading it. If I didn't, I just kind of like put it aside. And
Yeah. I don't think I ever really paid attention to that until I got into like junior high school.
right.
And then like I think it was right around when Image was starting, and uh, then I started paying attention to artists a little bit more. So then I got like sort of really into Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane and stuff like that. But yeah,
He
but
said to clarify, type. She's an activist type
yeah,
writer, not an activist type writer.
yeah, I got what you meant though. But
Yeah.
she didn't really put the politics into the comics, so it didn't matter. You know,
Yep. That's one thing I think, and we've seen that theme, at least for me, jumping into this whole thing about a
what?
year ago. And
Yeah,
the only thing, like you, the only thing I bought over the years, because I quit reading DC and Marvel, I watched the movies, but I quit reading the comics regularly. And I was just doing, Dark Horse's Star Wars. And
Oh yeah, yeah.
and so getting back into reading other comics other than Star Wars in the last year and a half, a year, yeah, I can see where. And actually, one of the last ones I read was, and I'm probably going to get it wrong, was I think it was a Catwoman Batman. They had like an anti-gun theme to it.
Oh
This
yeah.
must have been like 12 years, 13 years ago.
Hmm.
And I just I was like, it's not even worth my time getting emotional over something that you can't really affect anyways, except to not buy the comics anymore.
Yeah. Well,
Simply what
Batman
I did.
always. I mean, that was kind of his thing. He was
Yeah,
always
and I
sort of.
understand.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, to me, it wasn't the fact that he didn't do guns, he didn't believe in guns.
Yeah.
Used his mind, and he stayed almost within the letter of the law. I wouldn't say quite within the law, but he wasn't killing anybody.
No.
But to me, it was more of like they were getting real life politics into it. And
Mm.
this was, I think shortly after. What shooting was it? I I think it might have been the one in the movie theater during
Oh
the Dark
yeah,
Knight
Dark Knight one. Yeah.
back in, it might have been '09. Actually, it might have been like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But
I think that was around when it came out. But
yeah,
yeah.
and I think we can all agree that without getting into politics, that bad things happen.
Sure.
But at the same time, uh, that's not a discussion. I think you you don't spread propaganda through characters that everybody enjoys and reads and uh, has lived with their whole time, because those superheroes, whether Batman or Superman, they shouldn't be taking sides. You know what I mean? It
No, I
shouldn't.
agree. Yeah.
It's just it's propaganda is all it is. But
Mhm.
anyways, getting back to Thunderbun says, I misunderstood. I thought you were saying Jody wrote the books you didn't like. I agree with you. If you like it, buy it. Yeah, I think everybody agrees with that sentiment. If you like it, you buy it. If you don't like it, you don't buy
Yeah.
it.
Exactly. Or in my case, you buy everything and then you don't like. No.
Yeah.
But no.
All right. I'm very picky when it comes to Star Wars. Also, I'm still mad at Disney, and that's when I stopped buying Star Wars. It was back in 2012.
I wanted. Yeah, I wanted to, but I was like so invested in collecting the new series that.
Right.
Even though I know half of the comics are going to be junk, part of me just wants to like know what's going on, because I was always sort of like a little bit out of the EU loop back in the day. So now that it's sort of like restarted, I kind of just wanted to keep on top of it. But now I'm finding it really hard to care anymore. If
Right.
you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yep. And Albino says, I think Batman is best when he acts like the world's greatest detective that
Yeah.
he's advertised to be. And I agree. That's how the Batman I grew up with was, that detective. They were dark. He was looking at clues and talking to what's his name in his office, at night with the shades, letting a little moonlight in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, they kind of made him more into like a ninja, right?
Right.
So yeah, less of a sleuth, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Less
Yeah.
of the mind and more of like
Yeah.
all brawn and back. I think back to the old '60s TV show because I watched reruns. I wasn't
Yeah.
alive then,
Yeah.
but he held up his own in his fight, but he still got tied up and they had to escape. And
Yep.
so it was always focused on his mind, his mental capabilities rather than his.
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with that sentiment, albino. But going back to the Star Wars thing, to me, it was the EU thing, the EU factor when they said,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
now it's legacies, it's not going to be canon anymore. We're redoing it. And I spent so much time since mid '90s reading the EU, buying the books, buying the comics, time investments. And I literally grew up with some of these characters. They were the same age as me in the books, from being 9, 10, 11, all the way up to being 16, 17, 18, 19, as
Yeah.
far as like that second generation of Jedi and kids that, Han Solo and Princess Leia had, or Luke Skywalker ended up having with Mara Jade. But so to me, when they said 2012 rolled around, they bought Lucasfilm, and they said we're scrubbing the old EU. That's kind of when I stopped buying the Dark Horse.
Yeah. I thought it was a terrible idea personally, but
Yeah, I mean they were very good stories, and look
Yeah.
what they've given us since. It pales in comparison.
But I think it all comes down to, and I know why they did it, and it really didn't have anything to do with not being able to like present it to people who didn't know about it. I don't think. I think it's the same problem that they've been having with Star Trek. The new people came in and they said, "I want to make this my own thing," right?
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to be beholden to somebody else's creation or something like that. I know with J.J. Abrams, he's always trying to, take part ownership over things, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of his thing, right? He takes a property and he tries to take ownership over it. So
Yeah. And that's kind of where you kind of have to, I agree with you that definitely you can see that happening, but also he wasn't planning on doing this last movie. He did one, he was going to do one and be done.
Yep.
And he more or less had to come back because it was a train wreck after The Last Jedi. And that's what upsets me is that he created it, made it his own, but then kind of cut ran, you know what I mean?
They should have just, stuck to whatever treatment that he had written up. And
Right.
I mean, they could have worked within that. Like the thing that got me the most about the new trilogy is when they started, they were like, "Yeah, we've got this story group, and they're going to make sure everything is, lining up canonically and all this stuff." And I'm like, "Cool, that'll be great. Like, there won't be any inconsistencies or anything like that." And
Right.
you were reading the comic books, and you're like, "Okay, well, everything's lining up. They're incorporating elements from the new film and tying them back to the old film, and blah 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 blah." Great. And then Last Jedi comes out, and it's like, holy shit, what
And
happened?
and that's a direct reflection of what you said is everybody
Yeah.
wanted to take it and make it their own.
Yeah.
And that's what you get, at least with the old EU, excuse me. People were following, a certain storyline. They would have to read those previous books to understand these characters.
Yeah.
That a lot of them Timothy Zahn created, like Mara Jade and Talon
Mhm.
Card, and
Oh
even
yeah,
though
yeah,
Jason and Jaina were only in the womb, they still had to create these characters from what he created, and then also the Jedi Academy.
yeah.
They followed and they kind of kept the same themes going. You know what I
They
mean?
but they didn't really have to get rid of any of those characters. They could have just made a story with them already existing, right?
Well, the
Yeah.
sad thing is they did take them. They
Yeah, I know. Then
basically,
they just rewrote them, basically,
yep,
right? Yeah,
yep.
exactly.
They cannibalized them. They took bits and pieces, and what we ended up getting was Kylo Ren, who was cool for the first 30 minutes of the movie until he took off his mask, and we got emo Ren.
Yep.
So
Oh, that should have never happened in the first movie.
exactly,
He should have put it back on in the second movie, but
yep.
oh well. Yeah.
You never saw, even though Boba Fett technically didn't have a lot of screen time, he
Yep.
was iconic. People loved him. Why did they love him? Because he looked cool. He spoke. He spoke rarely, and
Yep.
you didn't see his face. You didn't know who he was.
Yeah, well, it's everything about the new trilogy has been completely misused, I guess. So they had a lot of really cool looking characters. Um
Right. Phasma.
Phasma, that's what I was going to bring up, right? Phasma was supposed to be like this badass stormtrooper. Um but she didn't do anything, right? She's had two scenes in two movies, and there was this really cool I think 5 or 6 part interconnecting comic book where she did something and it was really cool, but it didn't tie into the movies at all. It wasn't even the same character really. So
Right.
it kind of like the version of the character we wanted. But
The version of the character we wanted was in the novel Phasma. That novel
that
was
too, yeah, like
awesome.
all the connecting material is great for the most part. Anyway, it's a lot better than what we're getting from the movies. And if it doesn't line up, then there's no point in having a story group,
Right.
because they can connect it well, the thing that really bothered me is so after Last Jedi came out and they were doing damage control, they said, "Oh, well, the story group's just there for the comics and novels and stuff." And I said,
Right.
"Well, that's ridiculous. Like, um, why? You know?"
Yeah.
And it was the visual things in the movie too that really bothered me, right? Like even something as simple as the fact that they didn't have the glowing bars around the outside of the hangars, right? It was just like open space.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
that really bothered me for some reason. Like, uh,
Yeah. Just
yeah,
going back to the Kylo Ren thing. I mean,
yeah,
here's this guy who looks cool. He stopped within the first 5 minutes of the movie or 10 minutes. He stopped a blaster bolt in midair.
mhm,
They made him really They made him really powerful. I mean, you've never seen that. Even Palpatine didn't do anything like that.
exactly. Yeah.
And then at the end of the film, he's getting whooped up on by
Why this person
Ray.
just got a lightsaber? Yeah. So
Exactly.
yeah, no,
It
horrible.
boggles my mind how character development and story building and all this has just gone right out the window.
They could have explained that though, right? They could have said, "Oh, she's the daughter of this." Well, they could have said, "I like the theory that she was Palpatine's granddaughter," and that would have
Right.
made perfect sense. Because he was super strong with the Force, right? So, if the Force's lineage, as it originally was, then that would make perfect sense. But now
Right.
it's
For her
kind
to
of
be
like,
so powerful.
yeah, now it's kind of like a combination of both. It's lineage and everybody's got it or something like that. I don't really understand what they're trying to do with that, but
Yeah. There's
yeah,
nobody's special anymore. Nobody's
yeah,
individuals. Everybody's equal. Everybody's got the same potential, which, um, it sounds good, but I don't think it really plays well on the
mm,
screen or even
it
in a book.
it makes everything kind of boring, right? You know,
Right.
you've got to have your special character that has to rise above or whatever. Like he can start basic, as
Yeah.
most characters should, and then grow, because that's the whole point of having like a story, right? So
Right. And
yeah,
Albino actually brings up a good point. He's talking about Chuck Wendig's Aftermath trilogy.
yeah.
And I bought those two, Albino, and I didn't even get through half of the first one
I
because that's
heard
how
they
bad
were
it
pretty
was.
bad. So
They were bad.
yeah,
He reused some characters that were in previous books, especially the main woman who's like the admiral. I don't remember her name, but
yeah.
uh, I couldn't get through the first book. I had to put it down because it was so dull and boring. Um, and yeah, he says basically he's talking about Chuck Wendig before he knew he was a sociopath, and
Yeah.
he can't believe they got published. So I agree with you there. I can't believe they got published either.
They didn't hire the best writers. They're starting to go back to some of the mainstays now that
Yeah.
used to write books for Star Wars, but
You want to read the best Star Wars since 2012 has been Timothy Zahn once again.
Oh yeah,
His,
the
his
Thrawn.
Thrawn
Yeah,
duology so
yeah,
far. Yep.
yeah. I kind of
Awesome.
figured he would. He gets that character. He invented him. I
Oh
mean, like,
yeah.
yeah,
The best EU character, one of the best Star Wars characters of all time.
actually, I read the comic, which is basically a direct translation of that book.
Yep.
It's really good. Yeah,
Yeah, I picked that up. I didn't get through all of it, but
yeah,
I got the books. Those books were phenomenal, especially the second one. First one was good. There were some
yeah,
kind of build up points because they kind of tied in some of the rebels
yeah.
characters, but second one was really good with him,
Mhm.
and there was basically he kind of knew who Darth Vader. I want to spoil it, but he had met Anakin in the past
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
during the Clone Wars, and very good book. I recommend it. And I got to meet Timothy Zahn a couple of years ago
Oh, cool.
at a local. It's a game shop here in the city. It's called Fantasy Flight. And they do a lot of these Star Wars games now that they have the rights to.
Hmm.
And they had him in for their. I don't remember the card. It's a card game, Star Wars Galaxies, maybe, or I don't remember what it
Uh,
is, but
I don't know. I kind of fell it with the card games. I used to play I didn't really play it, but I was playing the one that was sort of like Magic back in the day.
Right.
I can't
It's
remember.
exactly like that.
Yeah, it was. Oh, I can't remember. I think it was just called the Star Wars collectible card game back then, but I think it's
Okay.
changed now. It's something else. But
Yeah,
yeah,
so they have a local shop here where they make it. They have kind of you can go in there and play games, and you can buy their games, and they have a little cafe. They sell food and stuff, and they had him up, so it was fun. They kind of had a Star Wars day. There was people there from the 501st dressed up as stormtroopers. The line
right.
was around the block, and I got to pick his brain about writing and ask him kind of what his method was. And
Cool.
he's a writer that writes constantly every day. He'll write a little bit,
Hmm.
and he says he could finish one of his books in 6 months.
Wow.
And yeah, it's so it was fun picking his brain about that. And then he actually gave me a card. I guess his son does like copy editing and
Hmm.
all that. So that was pretty fun. But yeah, getting back to this one right here is one that I've seen, but I haven't really read about it. It's
Oh
called
yeah.
Shinobi Sasquatch Book One.
I was kind of looking into this one today too. I've seen so
Because
much about it and
right,
never really looked at it. So.
yeah, it's been getting a lot of attention.
Mm.
It's a master ninja werewolf Bigfoot.
Hmm.
So I don't know what that means. He's a Bigfoot that got bit by a
Uh,
werewolf, or
well, I think.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it says nearly 80 years ago, a chance encounter between a Japanese ninja master fleeing internment camps and a curious young Sasquatch would result in a decades-long friendship and the first Bigfoot to ever become a ninja.
Right.
Years later, that same Bigfoot would find himself in a fight with an ancient werewolf, leaving him cursed with lycanthropy. Bleh, I can't talk. You know what I mean? What I'm
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
say. Now, Shinobi Sasquatch, the Pacific Northwest's most fearsome protector, must race against time to save the whole region from an evil cult bent on enslavement. Cool.
Sounds pretty cool. So he's a
Yeah.
Sasquatch and a werewolf. So,
So I'm not sure what style this is. The art looks good.
I've from what I've read, it's kind of like more of a painting based style. Like
Oh,
I think he
cool.
actually might be using watercolors and stuff, but yeah,
Okay.
which is really cool. That's
52
the kind of stuff that
pages.
I really like. So yeah,
That looks good.
oh, it looks really good. Yeah,
Sounds really good. I like the origin story.
yeah.
I don't know what this new thread he's fighting, but the origin story sounds really fun. So maybe he'll have
Hmm.
some of that in here, or oh, cool. Yeah, it looks good. Maybe I'm going to check this out and back it. Oh, and he turns into a werewolf.
Yep,
Okay, makes
that's
sense.
pretty cool. Yeah, I like that he's like sort of blue instead of like brown.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yep, yep. Makes it pop,
yeah,
almost like he's in the moonlight, and well,
yeah.
I suppose maybe he is there, but he's turned into a werewolf.
So that's two Bigfoot books. Uh,
Oh, yeah, Bigfoot Bill.
yeah,
That was fun. I love that book. I
yeah.
think that's one of the best books I've backed.
I do have it. It's probably like my favorite so far, honestly.
Hey, look at Eric Weathers again. All right,
Yeah, yeah. He's
cool.
doing a lot of lettering. So.
Yeah. Oh, Monster MD. So I thought I read that these two guys were involved with John Malin at some point. Maybe they got picked out. They won some kind of contest or something. And
Well, I know Doug Naples doing something with a couple guys right now,
okay,
where they're like doing some sort of secret goal or something like that. I don't really understand the secret tiers right now, but um, and they're sort of planning some collaborations or something. As far as I can tell, I've been trying to
okay.
watch the streams about it, but
So it sounds like
yeah.
Albino saying that the artist Rob Willis is good. It's his first book, and it was inspired by TMNT. I can see that.
Wow, first book, holy crap!
Yeah.
Yeah, This looks really good for a first book. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Monster MD, we'll have to check that one out too. Looks like these two are doing a crossover.
Yeah.
But I did see that back here. Let's check out that one. That sounds like something Malin would do.
Oh, Monster MD.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks pretty good. I
Von Klaus.
I did check that one out when it first was announced. It looked really
100
interesting.
plus.
Hmm.
100 plus pages.
That means they're still making it, basically. So.
Yeah. Surgical prodigy and underground monster doctor Dr. Wyatt Black wants out of the dangerous job of monster mending, but when his invisible assistant Heidi is kidnapped by his nightmare, the monster-killing madman that took his arm and ruined his medical career, he must depend on his paranormal patients more than ever before. Okay. Yeah, it kind of sounds similar to Malin's book that.
Graveyard Shift.
Yeah, Graveyard.
Yeah. I looked at that one too.
Actually, I have that one in.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I haven't gotten around to reading it yet. But
I don't know. Like, I like the horror stuff, but it's not like my favorite thing. But yeah.
I like the different the I won't say mythological aspects, but the the werewolves and vampires, that kind of aspect of these types of stories. It's got that fantasy element that I like, and it's fun to see different takes, especially when they had different monsters rather than just werewolves and vampires. You get
Yeah.
the invisible man here, or woman, whatever it is.
I really like when people do like these multi-monster type books, if they really research into different types of like sort of ancient myths about monsters and start to incorporate them into it. But you don't see it very often because people always sort of default to werewolves and vampires. But
Albino saying that the two writers from Monster MD and Shinobi Sasquatch won a writing contest to each get a backstory or backup story in Jawbreakers 2.
Oh, okay, right.
So I'm not sure if they're putting a short story in that book or what that means, but
okay, that's different.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, this is cool. This reminds me of the Turtle Wagon,
Yeah.
Battle Wagon, or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
The Mercy Wagon, aka the Meat Wagon. Floods and Sonic transmitter. Non-hedgehog related. Oh, I got it. Protection sigil. Rust. Monster Doctor emblem. Harpoon gun. Retractable rammer. My nickname in high school. I don't even want to know. I don't want to know. Oh, this must be invisible
I like
nurse.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. It reminds me of that the leg lamp from Christmas Story. Wow, that's cool. Oh, see, that's cool. That's okay. Yeah, it looks different when it's not colored.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely got a real animated look to his artwork too.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I know that's may not be like attractive to a lot of people, but I love the animated look when it's dealing with monsters and fantasy creatures. It's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Well, this looks really solid. Like, you can do that, but sometimes it looks. I mean, as long as your anatomy and perspective and everything's right, it looks great. But this looks really masterful, actually. So
cool. Eric Weathers again, awesome.
Yeah,
actually talked with him today.
Oh yeah. He's got to be pretty busy now. So
yeah. I was inquiring about his talents. Say that. But awesome. So team bonus, digital comic, signed sketchbook, pinup poster, and T-shirt. Yeah, it looks fun. I'll have to check out both of these, Shinobi Sasquatch and Monster MB. They look cool. Like to see that crossover.
Yep.
I'm wondering if this is maybe him or is this a different werewolf
Hmm.
character? If that's supposed to be Shinobi Sasquatch right there. Or...
Yeah. I don't know.
Cool.
Well,
Yeah.
I know there's a book coming out called like Monster Hunt or something, which is supposed to be like a crossover, but I don't
Oh,
really
is
know.
that Mike S. Miller's?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think the one you were talking about, Doug Tenaple, was with Elliot here called Doom Kicker. We can take a look at
Yeah,
that.
Doom Kicker, that's the one, yeah.
I don't know if that's fantasy, but I guess it's all
No.
fantasy to some extent,
Well,
right?
to some extent, yeah.
Might be.
Looks kind of horror-ish, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a big horror guy either.
Yeah.
I did back Nasser's book,
Oh yeah.
but I'm not. It reminded me of kind of a Stephen King-esque story, his book.
Yeah.
But what was that Stephen King one where the alien crashed and it was like a worm?
Oh, Dreamcatcher.
Dreamcatcher, yes. So
Yeah.
Nasser's kind of reminded me a mix of War of the Worlds and Dreamcatcher a little bit.
Okay.
But I don't know if you read that or backed that book.
No, the only Nasser book I backed was Brutus the Badass. So.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
don't think I got that one, but
Yeah.
so we got Elliot here and Doug with his rat.
Yeah.
So this comic is not for the faint of heart. Packed to the gills with breakneck adventure, chilling mystery, and oh yeah, my favorite creepy things that go bump in the night. Okay.
Yeah.
He likes that red and black.
Oh yeah, Red and Black looks good.
Yeah,
I don't
it
know.
does.
Do you read any of the alternative stuff or?
No.
No, you don't. Okay.
No.
Because there was one book that came out from Alterna called Blood Realm. It was really good. It's a fantasy story, so
Some of this art kind of reminds me of a Walking Dead.
yeah, a little bit. But Blood Realm was like really high concept, I guess. The artwork was really abstract, and he used a lot of red and blacks on all of his pages. It was really nice.
Cool.
And it was sort of like a dark fantasy story about a dark lord coming back through like possession and stuff like that. It was really interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this art kind of right here reminds me of Richard C. Myers. What was the second book he did?
Uh,
The one where the guy's on
yeah,
the border.
yeah. Why can't I think of the name?
Yeah, I have it in my room too, and I can't remember what it's called. Back too many books.
Yeah,
But that's kind of what this art reminds me of.
that's Canales.
Canales, okay.
Yeah, his artwork. Yeah, actually, I contacted him originally when I was looking for an artist because I thought his art was really neat. I guess I didn't back that book. Unfortunately, it just didn't hit at the right time financially for me. But
it was fun. It was that
yeah,
black and white book, but it
Iron
was
Sights.
Iron Sights.
Yeah.
So he says Monster Hunt is a crossover issue of Lone Star, Jawbreakers, and Graveyard Shift.
There you go.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
that's a really cool idea. I like the idea of crossover books, but
especially if you got all three books too.
yeah,
like I backed all three of those, so it'll be fun to see how they interact. All right.
I know one book I wanted to back I haven't backed was Long Harbor. That looked really good.
Which one was it?
It's called Long Harbor.
Long.
I don't know if it's funding anymore, but it was sort of like a Lovecraftian sort of thing. But
gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing two. I don't know what this is. This might be
Hunter
a little
of Dreams.
Hunter of Dreams. Let's see what
That's
it
a
is.
new one. I haven't seen her.
Yeah, it looks like it's the guys from Germany.
Okay.
Or no, is that a guy or I can't tell who that is, but I don't want to assume anybody's gender. But
Berlin, yeah, okay.
Hunter of Dreams.
Well,
Spin-off comic of my main comic series, Meyer, The Chronicles of Urea. Lore.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like it is I want to say, it looks like kind of a Watership Down or Moss. Did you ever read the Moss Flower series, the books by Brian Jakes?
Don't think so. No.
Basically, it was a fantasy world filled with all the creatures are like mice, rabbits, badgers,
Okay.
rats, foxes, so on and so forth, and they were kind of set in a medieval style of world, and it's a pretty good series. But I read it as a young teen,
No,
and
don't think I've read that. It doesn't sound familiar, but
okay.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. Albino says I backed Long Harbor. Alejandro closed the campaign, but will reopen it again right before he goes to print.
Oh, cool. Yeah, because it
I'll have to
looked
check it.
really, really fantastic. He had that sort of watercolor type artwork too.
Okay,
All hand painted. It looked really good.
cool. So it looks like this one's set in the dream world of a little boy who overcomes his biggest fears and worries in the format of a dream tale. And it
8
looks,
pages. Wow.
yeah, it looks almost like a cartoon.
Yeah.
Maybe a Pixar movie that's coming out or something.
2 years in the making.
92 pages, 80 pages of story.
Oh wow. Yeah, the artwork looks really good.
Yeah, I like the colors look cool.
It's definitely got that dream thing to it, but
Yeah.
probably
Cool.
more of an all ages book too, from the looks of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Bigfoot Bill.
Yeah.
I just can't get over how. Oh, here you go. I can't get over how fun that book was. I mean, it reminded me of Earthworm Jim. Playing the
Yeah.
video game back in the day, and
Definitely. Yeah.
that's another thing. Campaign that I need to back too before. I
Yeah.
mean, it's got time.
Me
But
too. Me too.
so I did look at this one a little bit previously. This
Ah,
one looks cool.
this one looks really cool. I've never seen this one either.
Yeah. So this one is called Relic:
Oh,
Shadows
he
of
just
Light.
started. Yeah. 59
Yep.
days left. Yeah.
And it's a 40-page book, and it looks like it takes place in the real world. It says this story is about a crusader, Franco of Aragon, during the invasion of the island of Malta in 1522 AD. It was the second ultimately successful attempt by the Ottoman Empire, with help from supernatural forces, to expel the Knights of Rhodes. Frank, our main protagonist, was mortally wounded at the massacre. Unknown to him, the Crusader Knights angels were sent from heaven in human form to assist the knights.
Hmm.
An angel in human form was also wounded during the battle and fell on top of Franco's body. His blood poured into Franco's wounds, and the angel's blood begins to change Franco as he was dying. Sounds
Ooh,
cool.
I like. Yeah.
Yeah, very fantasy-esque.
Yeah, the artwork looks pretty different too.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, the angels looks kind of look like Iron Man. That's kind of neat.
right.
Yeah.
A mix of Star-Lord and Iron Man a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. That's really cool. That's a good take
Yeah,
on it. Yeah. I like the arm
little
whip.
whip.
Yeah, the arm whip. That's really cool.
Oh, nice.
Well, it's Castlevania-esque, but
Yeah,
yeah.
it looks cool.
Wow.
Check this one out too. So yeah, that looks good. And
Lots
it's
of
got
detail, yeah.
he's got about 4%, and he's
Yeah.
only a day in. That's cool.
Yeah, I'll have
Dennis Chaconera.
I'm gonna have to get a hold of this guy.
Yeah, it looks cool. All right, so we will go touch back really quick on of space and time. If you want to give another short kind of intro into your, maybe just a short rundown of your
Uh,
book.
yeah, sure.
If I can find
Once
it
again,
here.
is it actually showing this?
Let's do this.
So of time and space, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, of time and space. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, there we
Don't
go.
I know how you feel, man. Guardians of Orloff was a very different, obviously not normal, and I kind of did that on purpose. So it would be, once people remember it, they'd remember it.
Actually,
But
I remember, yeah, when I first heard you talking about it, I went to search for it and I couldn't figure out how to spell it. But
yeah, so I wanted to pick something close to Earth, and
yeah,
Orloff was pretty close. And then in Dragonlance, they had a land called Urgoth,
yeah,
and
okay.
I was like, yeah, I need to stay, relatively a little bit different than but at the same time, I wanted something that sounded like Earth. So,
Oh, that's
but
okay. I've been told a few of my names are a little bit too similar to other characters, but I don't really worry about it. Yeah. But yeah, okay. So yes, this is my project of Time and Space, the Lunar Rise #1. It is the first part of what I'm thinking is going to be a 3-issue run for Lunar Rise, which is the first saga book of this larger story, which is called Of Time and Space. So this one is sort of like a catalyst book. It sort of launches the series. What else can I say about it? So it has an ending, beginning, middle, and end, but it definitely does end on the pretense that it's going to continue on. So
okay,
yeah,
awesome, sweet. So yeah, go check it out. Back it, and I'm going to drop the link in the description of the video, and hopefully people come across this video or watch it. They'll check this out, and I'm going to cut this one short, or not short, but I'm going to cut it off here. And thanks for joining me again, Larry.
Oh yeah, no problem. Anytime.
And we will be back. I can't promise it'll be the same time next week, but Fantasy Cast episode 3 will be at some point next week, and hopefully Wednesday or Thursday. And we will see you all then.
Great.
Thanks.